Hello friends. Anyway, going to start another project here on my scrap iron lathe. It's just a part of an experiment that I'm going to do some more coloring on it, and just put on a birch log, a little bit out around so the lathe jumped around a little bit, but mainly rattled it. It's not bolted down or anything like that, so I'll make a few cuts here just to show you how it goes. Okay, here we try in a little higher speed, and always wear these rubber gloves when you're lathing, because otherwise it's really hard on your hands, those stuff coming off. So I protect my hands with these rubber gloves. Maybe I should have body armor on too, but I'm going to stand to one side. Once that rounds out, it sure runs a lot smoother. Anyway, I shall make something out of this, and in the end I'll show you what it's like. Here's a shot of the project as it is now. I've got the basic shape laid out and ready to go into the microwave. This was completely a green piece of wood started, so I want to be able to continue it shortly rather than waiting 6 months. Okay, in this project that I've started here, I've got it of course lathed now and sanded, and then I painted it black. I want to have the appearance of a night sky with northern lights. So in this process I want to put some little speckles in it to give the appearance of stars. And I've mounted it on the lathe here so I can turn it around. What I'm going to do is take a paintbrush, a little bit of white acrylic paint on, and just flick some paint on it, little spots here and there. So here it goes. Well, here goes. This is entirely an experiment. I'm a little hesitant of starting, but you can't learn if you don't have a dream and then act on it. So I've got all my supplies here. Of course, I've got the cylinder that I've speckled with little stars, you might say. And I've got some water. I've got water, several things of water here. My brushes, got a bunch of selection of brushes. I'm kind of favoring this wide one here, and I have a little practice board I've been practicing on a little bit anyway to get the idea, learn a little bit on that. And I got all my paint here, and I labeled them with what color they are, because with the iridescent paint, Sojana iridescent paint, they all look white. And so it's a good idea to know which one you're going to do there, save a little bit of confusion. Oh, my computer went off. There we go. Had a computer with some of, you can get images of northern lights, kind of gives you an idea what they look like. Some of the things that I notice here, they're not flat on the bottom, and the basic color is near the bottom, and then it shoots up. So what I'm going to attempt to do is put paint on, and then with the brush, and then brush it up to the top so it gets thinner and more irregular up there. Well, it's just a theory. We'll have to see how it turns out. I may have to do a little bit of touch-up work later, adding a little bit more, but just a few minutes here, and with the basic method that I'm going to use here. Then I'll work on it over the next while here till I get the project finished. So I'll turn this so I can see sort of what I'm going to be doing here. A lot of I want a green, I believe. Okay, I think this is the green. I'm going to wet my brush there a little bit, just to make it a little damp. And then a green. And just take anywhere. I'm going to lay the bottom here off of wood and not the top here. So I want my design sort of in the middle. And I painted it all and did it all, and then I'll work it out from there, because who knows what's going to turn out to be there. And then put your brush down and a little swish up. Paint dries fairly quickly, so you don't want to be going over it more than very much there. I will try a little bit more green. That was kind of fun. Well, I don't know if you can see that or not with the light here, but it doesn't look too bad. And I'll give a little swash here. And I may have to let this dry here. And so then I'm going to... Okay, I've been just decorating the lid a little bit here. That's going to go on the canister. There's a number of good tutorials on YouTube, such as Tim Yoder, Gary Lowe's, etc. So I'm not going to explain a whole lot about the process here, but sometimes I take a little different idea or a little radical approach. I finally got the Liquitex here and gave that a try. But actually I found that I did the last one with just plain water, and I guess maybe I'm a little used to the water. Just didn't seem that worked as well as what I expected. I thought it might work wonders. But I was struggling a little bit here, and I had adequate pressure, but my compressor wasn't turned on. It just didn't seem to be the volume that I had before. So now that I've turned that on, it seems to work a little better. So what I've done is just mix these up. I've used some Liquitex, some water, whatever, and a little dop on there. Getting to in the end here, and you can always throw a little extra paint. I've used blue quite often. You can mix your paint so it and so the colors don't look quite so. Yeah, this works a lot better now that I've got my compressor turned on there. So anything, just daub paint on there, mix colors, and you'll get some interesting effects. All three of them there, dab them on there a little bit. Anyway, you can't go too much wrong with doing this process here. And every time you do it, it's slightly different. Don't be afraid to experiment with the colors and Liquitex, water, whatever would work best for you. And if you don't like it, you can always lathe it off and do it again. Anyway, we'll now I just have to make the center for the little lifter there. Right now I am making a little pull or knob for the top of the project I'm making here. I do a lot of stuff out of metal, so I have access here to a metal lathe, and I find the metal lathe very useful when it comes to wood. You can do things very quickly, accurately on a metal lathe compared to doing it on a wood lathe. Use it a lot during my models, and even though I've been criticized for using a metal lathe in the shop, with the modern dust collection systems, I find it no real problem, and I'm not going to wear it out for sure. Every so often I go over and give it a good cleaning. So what I want to do here on this little knob for the thing is reduce this dowel. I actually laid this on the end of this dowel. I want to reduce that diameter to 1/4 inch. I used a heavier dowel to be stronger while I was lathing it. So actually it's quite simple. What you do is, once you make your cut, you take a micrometer and measure it. Now I want to know, I want to go down to 250 thousandths, and this is reading 306. So in order to bring that down to 250, I have to subtract the 250 from 306 and get 56, and then divide that in half. And that's how far I would adjust the cross slide here, which is also in thousandths of an inch. So I'll just make a cut off of that. Once you have your first measurement, you can make multiple cuts. Just end up with what you want on your dial here. You always get a nice straight cut. I use this for making a lot of the dowels, etc. that I use. Use it on automatic feed, and sometimes I'm doing something else while it's cutting the dowel. Anyway, just thought I'd show that. Another thing handy with the metal lathe, besides the chuck and able to be hold things, you can also hold things with outside jaws, and that's what I use to make the lid for the top of this project. In my last video that I made on making tracks, if you have seen that one and watched it to the end, I had a little magic trick where I made a table disappear. Well, a lot of you probably didn't last that long in that boring video, but anyway, today I'm going to make a table appear. So this is my magic trick in reverse. Thought you might be interested in that. So this is my table, and I also want to get the table out so I can show you the finished canister there. So it doesn't really look like a table, but just watch here. So to do this, make this table just open up, I'm going to open these two drawers here, and then two doors, and then it's a simple matter of pulling this out, and that'll be far enough. And then I'm going to take one of the leaves out of here, and we'll take another one out, put that in there, like that, and then I can close the doors. And the bottom doors will also close. So anyway, we're ready to show you the project here. So I'm going to move the camera closer. Completed experiment. The colors didn't come out as intense as I wanted, but maybe a little bit more experimentation. This is kind of the first one that I was experimented to. Some respects, it's got some possibilities. Not going to give up on the idea entirely. I think I may try it with the actual airbrush paint in the airbrush and see what I can do. But I'll just trying to get rid of the reflections here. I'll include some pictures that I took at the end here, and maybe it will show up. I wasn't entirely impressed with the gold, but the blues, etc., weren't too bad. Of course, now you can see from that I've laid that off at the bottom here, and also at the top there. So the center part is natural wood. Kind of sets off the pattern there a little bit. But that's my first experience at Northern Lights using iridescent Sojana paint. Not exactly the great yet. As I turn this around, you may have noticed this knob here that was done with black walnut and birch. So as you turn it around, it's supposed to be a moon, and you get the different phases of the moon, from full moon down to crescent moon, and so on and so forth. It's turned around. I haven't glued that in yet, but really impressed though with the design using the airbrush and spreading the paint. I find that it makes a very, very nice pattern. And in this one here, I overlaid it with a clear finish, and it brought out the colors very, very nicely. And I'm going to do a few more decorations on bowls and different things with rings and that, using that method as well. So anyway, you just got a little outline here of what I've did and what I tried to do. But woodworking is great pastime. There's so much that a person could do and experiment with. It's quite an enjoyable hobby. So I'll include a few pictures. The way this thing warped, it'll only go on in one way there, but that's doable. So I'll just include a few pictures, and thanks for the interest in my experiments and different things that I do. And thanks for looking, and hopefully we'll tune into a new project here, a new experiment before too long.